is up, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you that are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that comment section and let me know what you guys think of the build so far. And for those of you that are already subscribed to the channel, big thank you to you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are helping my channel grow, so I really appreciate it. But we got the garage door open today. We got Bud out there enjoying the nice weather. It's February and we had like a 65-degree day. That don't happen often, so we're gonna go ahead and enjoy it while we got it. But as you guys saw in the last episode, we were wrapping up a couple odds and ends on the Lamborghini. Wasn't the most exciting content, but it's just stuff that had to be done. But what we do got going on today is we're going to be converting it from an all-wheel drive to a rear-wheel drive. And I'll explain a little bit more on that once we get into the episode. We did finally get our package in the mail. It's, as you guys can see from the box, we got our AC compressor, so we can finally bolt that deal on and get our servicing system all complete. Let's go ahead and get started with this episode. So we did somewhat get our AC compressor bolted up, and when I mean somewhat, that means with only one bolt. This is not an LS4 block, so it does not have all of the fastening locations. They're there, but you have to drill and tap them out. I didn't know that, and me being impatient, I just wanted to see the motor inside of the car already. I should have waited for the compressor to get here, but it is what it is at this point. Pretty much once we get the motor out, we're gonna have to go ahead and take off the compressor, and we'll drill and tap those holes at that time. But as of right now, it's just gonna be held on with that one bolt. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. We've got that one bolt right there holding it on. Back here, we're gonna have to fabricate something for it bolts in right there. We'll probably fabricate something to that mount in order for it to bolt down there. And then up here at the top, you won't be able to see it, but there's a little ear like that one right there that just needs drilled and tapped in order for it to accept a bolt there. But it's just something you learn as you go, so we'll just go ahead and get that once we get the motor out at a later time. Let's go ahead and start converting our Lamborghini over to a rear-wheel drive. There are a few ways that you can go about it. One way is completely free. All it costs you is your time. The second way, it requires a little bit more work and you have to spend a little bit of money. The second way, what that involves is you gotta remove the front differential out of the car. You gotta remove both of your axles. And then you also, on top of that, you gotta spend $700 for 2 axle stubs that are gonna go in place of both of your axles. That is gonna be to hold your wheel bearings together. You can bolt them in just like a regular axle. It'll hold that bearing tight so that way it doesn't fall apart on you. It doesn't really make sense for my application because we're not gonna be using it as a race car. It's gonna be a daily driver, and then also in the future we might be converting it back over to an all-wheel drive, just once we get the time. So it just doesn't make sense for my application, but let me go ahead and show you guys the cheap, easy way of doing this. Once you got the skid plate removed out of the bottom of your car, if you're still running the factory Lamborghini motor, you're gonna wanna unbolt this back here. It's gonna be attached to your intermediate shaft. And then once you get that off, you'll wanna come up here and remove these bolts from your front differential and take these 2 bolts out, and that'll release your center support bearing. Check it out, you guys. We finally got the drive shaft out of the car, and that officially means that she's been converted to a rear-wheel drive. It was that easy. It took me maybe an hour. Really wasn't that bad. But basically what this does is it connects to your transmission and to the front differential, and it's what makes all four wheels spin at the same time. But while we have the bottom part of the car exposed, I'm going to go ahead and remove that radiator line that runs across the car, and we're going to work towards getting it capped off. We busted out the TIG welder so we could TIG up that coolant pipe that I was talking about capping off. You guys can see the welder. I was practicing a little bit, and geez, I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll stick. But I ran into a little bit of a problem. I was originally planning on pulling off the whole aluminum pipe that runs across the car, and it's this one right here but it runs over the front differential, and there's no way to slide it out without pulling the front differential, and I didn't see the need to do that. It hung down low enough where I could actually weld on it, so I just this is what it came out like. I mean, it's not beautiful, but it'll seal up, and I mean, it's not going to be needed anyways. We just had to cap it off. And I did find some -16 AN line, and I'm mocking up our heater hoses for the cooling system, and that honestly ought to wrap up the whole cooling system once we get these two heater hoses made. I mean, like I said in the earlier video, our radiator hoses actually ended up working perfectly. They fit up there just nicely. So I'm gonna finish up making these heater hoses, that way we can complete the cooling system, and then we can move on to the next thing. Check it out, you guys. We officially converted the car to a rear-wheel drive. We got done wrapping up our cooling system. It is completely done. And we also somewhat bolted up our AC compressor. You guys know the story behind that. And also, we got our serpentine system on. even though it's only held on with one bolt, but pray for that. But there's one more thing I want to do before we end this episode, and that is remove the gauge cluster out of the car. I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint on what that's for. It's the secret to making all of the gauges and the factory options work. I'll explain a little more after we get it out. Like I said on my previous video, I wanted all of the factory options to work on this car, and that is the reason why we pulled the cluster out of it. We're going to actually be sending this over to a team that specializes on this kind of stuff, and that is our friends over at Dakota Digital. They actually don't even know who I am, but I say they're our friends because hopefully one day they will know who I am. But they're probably the best in the industry in my opinion, and they're actually gonna reverse engineer this cluster so that way it'll work and make it compatible with whatever ignition system I plan on running on the car. And I'm super grateful for that. This is gonna be a big step towards finishing this build. And so we're gonna go ahead and get ahead of the game and send this off to them because I know they're super busy and it might take them a little bit to get to it. But I think I'm gonna end the video here. So I wanted to say a big thank you to all you guys that are subscribed to my channel. And for all of you guys that are not quite there yet, and just go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section and let me know what you think of the build so far. But with that being said, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.